Alrighty then. Hello there, Spencer and Spencer. Sorry if the background noise is at all excessive. I have tried everything. I thought using my computer would be like a bit more hands-offish than like my phone, since like I can kind of reach around and grab things and be a bit more natural here in this garage. Alrighty, so I wanted to talk about things with you two gentlemen, so I thought I would start this in like the way I know how, and that I just finished a thing that I really liked. And that thing in this case is Dune. Dune by Frank Herbert, and it's all mixed around on the... I think it's going to be fine in the recording, so probably shouldn't bring too much attention to that. But Dune is a really good book. Dune was written like years and years ago. I think this was written in like 64, if I'm remembering right. And Dune, if you two gentlemen didn't know, I know Spencer Wolf has like mentioned a few things about 65, geez. So yeah, this book is like really old, really influential, like with science fiction as a whole. Like Dune is incredible. Like, and so a property that you two and probably like all people know a bit well is Star Wars. Dune is the reason like these things exist. Dune is the reason Star Wars exists. Dune is probably like the reason like all modern science fiction exists, you know? Like, we talk a lot as a people, I feel like, about how there are no original ideas. And I think that's true in like the context that ideas come from something, you know, like you know, if I were to write a book, it would probably like have all sorts of influences for how I were to do it. But like I don't really know what Frank Herbert, like I don't think there was something quite like Dune before Dune existed. When Frank Herbert wrote Dune, he was writing like essays about the desert, and it evolved. It became something new out of like something like tangentially related, because Dune is like set on a desert planet. And it's just like a really good book. And I feel like a lot of people are very, they're sort of scared away by it just because like how old it is. They might be scared by science fiction in general. They think it's like really technical, really weird. And just like, I just want to like throw all of that out there. Like, I don't think any of that is really like necessarily true at all. Like I was scared of getting into Dune because I thought this is going to be like really dense, this is going to be really deep, and I feel like it is dense and deep, but like not at a surface level. Like you have characters, you have setting, like it's like the setting is just like, it's really dense, but if you just want to read it, you can read it. And the characters, like they're all really interesting. Like at a certain point they become like you have Paul, he's like the main character, and I would say like he's really relatable at the beginning. Like, you know, he's the kind of guy who's like, what is that? You know, like in the way you'd have like a Marty McFly or a Luke Skywalker kind of do that. Like, he's like, I don't know what that is. Will you explain that to me? And then as time goes on, you have Paul, he becomes like this weird alien kind of man, and like, but it's still really interesting because I feel like you understand his journey, and it's really this cautionary like sort of talk about like you don't want to give your life away to a hero. And I think that's kind of like, it's a really interesting part of the story, is that you don't want to give your life to a hero. Like Frank Herbert said something like, the worst thing that can happen is like a hero shows up. That's not really that quote, but just like, you know, it's like with heroes, it's this sort of thing of like, you know, you should be afraid of charismatic figures. You should like beware them in a way, because they can just screw things up. They can like just upturn the social hierarchies, which can be a good thing. But like in the context of Dune, like when spoilers, like this, I feel like this is something that like gets talked about like towards the ends of the first third, but like towards the end of the like billions of people die because of like the consequences of like the book, and it's like that is, you know, it's just this sort of thing. It's like social upheaval can need to happen, but you gotta understand that there are costs to that, and it's really interesting. And for people who don't like to, read books, which I understand is like a very not in vogue thing nowadays, there are adaptations which are interesting to say the least. I really like Twin Peaks. That's like a favorite like sort of television series, and that's directed by David Lynch, or at least the good parts are directed by David Lynch. And he also directed a adaptation of Dune that was released in 1984. And like it's a weird movie. It like isn't a very faithful adaptation in a lot of ways. And just it was not the movie David Lynch really wanted to make, and a lot of people were meddling with it. And it's just like all of these examples of just things you don't want to happen when a movie's being made, and that is like 1984 Dune. Like I hear it's kind of, I have not seen it yet since like I did my first reading of the book like today, I finished my first reading today. I want to watch the movie. It's just kind of a bit of an issue when I want to watch it with other people, and we're in the middle of a quarantine, so there's that. There were also like sci-fi original like series, or like like those short time limited series. There was one on Dune that I heard like the effects aren't very good, but like it was the times, and it was like a TV series. And I hear it's like it's a lot more faithful to the book, even if it's not quite as high budget as it could have been. And Dune had 5 sequels, and 2 of those kind of were like later adapted, that being Dune Messiah and Children of Dune, which like I feel like people, when they hear about Dune, they don't really understand it's like a big series, or like they don't, like if they read the first book, like geez, like why would I want to read the other ones? But so you got Dune Messiah and Children of Dune that were like the follow-ups to Dune, and like, and apparently like the like sci-fi, they knocked that out of the park. They like did really good work. Like this is like better than their adaptation of the original, and like this is not something anybody's ever done. Like, 'cause I feel like Dune is barely like known in the cultural osmosis, let alone its sequels. Like it just like and this like brings me to like this December 2020 there's going to be another adaptation of Dune. Like that's Dune like just 2020. And it's actually going to be the first half of the book, which is an interesting idea to me. It's like, because I really feel like it's a niche thing, and it's being directed by Villeneuve, or what's his name? Denis Villeneuve. And it's like, he has made very good movies. Oh, geez. I guess my vibrate. Okay, so he's made really good movies. Like, Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, others that I have not watched. And like, but I feel like Blade Runner 2049, that's like the one that means the most to me, and that did not perform very well. I feel like Blade Runner is a bit more in the cultural osmosis than Dune is, and it makes me really afraid for how this movie's going to perform. And it's like, they're going to make the first half. I feel like when you say like we're going to make the first half of this, that means there's already like plans and sort of commitments to make the second half, even if the first half doesn't do great. But it's just like, it makes me sad, because like you had to like cut it in half, because it's like a massive book, massive world, massive story. But it makes me think they had to split the movie in half, and this is the most recognizable, the most known. And like I cannot believe in any timeline where there are 12 movies, if you had to split each book in half, of Dune. And that makes me sad, because like this, I really want a world where all of this stuff is adapted in a very good way, and I feel like that's just not the world we live in. And it makes me sad, and like there's not going to be 12 Dune movies, and it's like, I would be good with like 7, one for each movie, but I feel like these books still don't, or like these stories don't get any less dense. So it's like, it's really interesting. Like maybe someday, but it's like there isn't infinite money, and I don't think Villeneuve Deneuve can like his name's not Villeneuve. It's like Denis Villeneuve, and like I don't think he can like justify making that many movies. Like Star Wars doesn't have 12 movies. It doesn't even have 4 that are good. I don't know. It's like what a time. But yeah, so I think you two should like give Dune a read. Like the original book, it is worth reading. It's a good book. And it's like, it tells like just a lot about, like just a dense book. And I really think it's something that speaks for itself. Because when you get into it, like I really feel like it jumps at you and you get really immersed in the world. So yeah, that's my pitch for Dune. This is something that just like has really been on my mind and I'm like kind of crazy about at the moment. So yeah, well I guess I'll hear from one of you tomorrow if this is a thing. So this has been my contribution to the Spencers. My name is Mason, by the way. I'm not a Spencer. I'm just lending my voice and my ideas to this project. So yeah, blah.